Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back to the Scorpio channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to my channel, I'm going to do a general message for Scorpio. Know that energy is fluid. Roles could be reversed. Just interpret the message as it best resonates with you. Also, know on this channel and all my channels, I like to dive deep within the reading. So I do look at everything, but we take time to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, to see how they play it as karmic themes, to help you understand why everything's playing out the way that it is. You're a mirror of whom what comes into your life. A lot of times we still don't understand why we attract not just people, but situations and experiences that put us in this funky energy, right? Funky energy is like where we're not kind of feel like just confused, detached, detached, almost like we're there, but we're not. And that's a trauma response. When you are in a relationship with someone that creates trauma, it's someone that keeps you in your head, keeps you doubting yourself because they made you perceive something about yourself. It usually brings up some sort of negative energies, right? So no one should be able to do that. If someone's able to do that, that means that there's a blockage, right? So this is how we know that we're spiritually out of balance, because spiritually out of balance just means psychologically and emotionally, because what makes up your energy is your thoughts and your emotions. That's what determines your energy vibration. And so you're a mirror of whom what comes into your life. So the universe always brings you what you need, not what you want. All right, anything of any importance or relevance to the channel, you can find in the description box. If you resonate with the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. All right, now I've been starting off every single reading with just looking at you. What do you need to do in the next few days, the next few weeks, the next few months? And why I say it like that is because Spirit has no time. And many times you will get a reading that doesn't happen right away. Now, if it happens right away, it's only because you're stuck in a karmic loop. And the karmic loop is, well, I've been connected to this person for a long time and they do the same thing, and then I react the same way. So obviously the same dynamic plays out. So in order to break the karmic cycle, we have to see what the dynamic is, right? But many times energy that plays out within readings, it's not really like it's supposed to be somewhere in the future. All right, let's see. I'd like to pull these and just pull 3 and 3 and then read them separately and then read them together. That's just the way that I do it. Oh, also, we're going to pull some moon cards. And this is just what you need to look out for yourself. And then we'll look at your connection. Because if there's spiritual blockages like that are playing out for you individually, then a lot of times you're going to understand why your relationship looks the way that it does. Okay. Let's see. Unresolved grief. So it shows up as persistent sorrow, loss, numbness. And that numbness is what I was saying that trauma does. That when somebody, does something and it's so emotional, we get numb. And that's where the detachment and disassociation comes from. And so even after the situation has passed, that's the problem. We hold on to the memory. So it's hard to move forward. So emotional outbursts happen from that. Now, you might not just emotionally outburst, but you might find that you have highs and lows, and the highs are real high and the lows are real lows. And it's because there's unresolved pain, and that you're trying to suppress it. So, okay. And then you got abuse wound. Well, psychologically, emotionally, or physically, the mind doesn't know the difference. It just knows that it doesn't feel safe because what happens is what it shows up as intense reactions to situations that echo past emotional and physical or verbal abuse. And understand, when you and I have not healed that type of energy of abuse, it's betrayal. It's betrayal. So you will attract people that bully you. You will attract people that you relive that emotional pain. Where if you were ignored, well, you're getting, again, that energy. And ignored is a psychological, trauma. It's a form of gaslighting to make a person feel like not validated, to make them feel not significant, and people can do that. Verbal abuse is usually what happens in childhood. And so it leads to, overreacting, but understand it's I wouldn't even say overreacting. The card says that. I would say the way that like defend yourself, people see as overreacting because they're not living your reality. And so what happens is that when you have so much pain from that betrayal and from grief, well, other situations that mirror it, and you haven't integrated the spiritual lesson. So that's going to play out in all different areas of your life, where it just makes you really feel like you're always on edge. So remember that root chakra is your connection to the physical world, the physical body, and also to God, to you being strong within yourself. When you're constantly on edge, there's that, you're not rooted in your body. This is where that detachment, and where you feel numb and you feel disassociated. And so, again, just keeps your body in a state of high danger. It doesn't feel good to be in the body then. That's why. Because no one can stay in a place of survival for long periods of time. And from being around a person that gaslights. And so, again, they might say one thing, but do another. So being brought up in an environment where, again, there's that, where I love you, but if a parent can't show up, or the way that they show up because of their trauma, they haven't healed. It's not so much about what happened, but we get stuck in the story of what happened. So that's why I explain. But Spirit says it's not really important about the story, but if you don't understand, you can't bypass that reptilian mind, because it's like abuse. That's pain. It's like I can't trust. If it was a mother or a father, or a sibling, someone that was close to me that betrayed me, well, again, that's the wound. But then not trusting yourself is what it is, even if nothing's happening, because we see what we look for. So you may be healing that, and we're going to see how it's playing out within your situation. Put your hand on your heart and ask yourself, what do you really know about this situation? And you may be surprised. So if you're here to find out about a relationship or a person, you may tend to like just be stuck in what this person has done that's bad, and not want to look at anything that this person has gone through or done. So, Spirit says being vulnerable is your greatest strength. You are a champion. So vulnerability to me in this situation means you can be compassionate. You can be compassionate because that's who you are. You're a compassionate person. You're a spiritual person. You can put yourself in that person's shoes, but it doesn't mean that you have to run back into a situation that, that doesn't feel right for you, because Spirit says there is actually no one like you in the world, right? So what does that mean? Well, everyone has their own unique individuality, their own passions, interests, identity, their own essence and energy, and there really is no one like you. So when you live from that level of consciousness where you know that, and you also know that you have purpose, you may not have found your full purpose yet, but you know that there's a bigger sense to why you're here. You can walk with confidence. It's doesn't mean that you didn't go through everything that you went through, but you have to focus on the attributes that came from what you went through. You're not the situation, however, you are the strength that came from that situation. Why? Because perception is everything. When we're healing, what are we doing? We're seeing a different reality. How are we doing that? We're shifting our perception, we're integrating, because it's not that those situations didn't happen, but we have to understand why did it happen? And it happened because, hey, there was no support. If I don't trust the person that I grew up in, right? Like in the environment that I grew up in, well then you're not going to feel supported. But you learn that support comes from yourself, is what Spirit's saying. It's like, and I feel like that support happened again when you saw that when you relocated. Now you might have moved or you're about to move. It's like one or the other. But I feel like that you're still evolving into the highest states of consciousness and you're still healing. But part of what you're doing is you're clearing that. If you grew up in an environment where you were taught not to trust yourself from gaslighting, well, that's the karmic theme. You don't trust yourself. There's still unresolved, trauma from the grief. So you have to integrate the grief, is what Spirit's saying. But we're going to see how it's playing out within your relationship, because this is what's on the board as far as healing. Now, does that mean the person doesn't have feelings? No. A person a lot of times has feelings. That's the whole paradox of it. They feel like this is your person, they have feelings for you, but there is baggage. That's what shadows are. You're able to alchemize, but you have to know what you're dealing with first. So the best place to start is to just see, what is a person's hidden truth? How do they really feel about you? These are my hidden truth cards, and some of these cards are good to be in this deck. And these are just kind of like the hidden truth, just different. Just to be like, well, where are they? What are they thinking about right now when it comes to you? If they had something to say, what would they say? We will be together again. That to me is kind of like, I don't know. Well, I do know, when a person like betrays you, but they love you. So a person like, and that's really what I felt, like a person that does care about you, kind of like a family member that loves you, but betrays you, right? So which is an oxymoron, because your family is not supposed to do that. And people that love you are not supposed to do that, but that's the trauma, and that's what will continue to play out. So it's not that this person doesn't have feelings for you, but when it says we will be together again, kind of is like ownership, right? It sounds a little dominant. So second chakra imbalance, controlling. That's the energy there. I hope that you can forgive me one day. Now that's nicer energy, because the person's actually saying, well, I see how I treated you. I see, that. So even though we have this connection and I shouldn't have hurt you, I understand that I hurt you. I want to feel that way again. And I feel like, because it's like when it's a real connection, it's a real connection. It's light. This person is normally like, phony. And when I say phony, like surface relationship, not a deep relationship that's moving, that you'd want to feel that way again. You want to feel that way again when it's real, because you feel alive. The relationship gives you butterflies when you see that person, and you get excited and you get giddy, and it's like, it's pure and it's honest, and it's just is, opposed to like, well, I'm out here, in Facebook land or Instagram and whatever, and I'm making surface talk, or I'm out at a bar, or I'm out at whatever, and I tell you a bunch of lies, and the other person is lying back to me. We're both running off to Tahiti tomorrow because we want to get married and have 5 kids, but really we don't want any of that. We just wanted, one person wanted to jump into the sack, and the other person was looking for love in all the wrong places. So again, and it always kind of feels a little bit wrong or rushed or fast or not special. This is something that felt special because you brought that to the table, and you brought that because it was real. It can't be duplicated. You know why? Because that's a God thing. It's a God thing because it's a divine connection, opposed to a karmic connection that it's divine in that way that is going to show you a big fat lesson. So you were a blessing at one point. You came closer than anyone, again, to getting this person to change, to be different. So if you ask this person, I get the energy that they're still a little bit all over the place, where they're not ready to 100% let go of their old ways. But that energy of unconditional love will eventually get this person to do what they don't think that they're going to do, I feel like. And the reason why is because this person's in survival, they're in the ego. Now, people that betray usually got betrayed at one point. So that's why they are the way that they are. However, God doesn't care. God says, my job is to tell the universe that anything's out of alignment with my energy, the energy of unconditional love that the universe has to bring towards you. So were you that person? Yeah, you were this medicine that person needed. Did they recognize that medicine? No. No, they were too busy in their old ways, their addictive ways. So it's the mindset. It's a lot of this person has realizations, but they're going to have to work through it. But nevertheless, God says, I always win. It's like the person's going to be frustrated, but they'll first look for you in every other person. They'll do things that completely sabotage the connection, because understand this person feels powerless over it, but in that they're going to make you feel powerless because they didn't feel safe with that energy of unconditional love. You have to let the person in, right? Like if you're going to have that type of connection, you're going to be in there. And that's the thing. And so that makes this person feel like powerless, like you have too much power over them. Now, what makes a person think that is the trauma that they've gone through in their life. So it's almost like until they heal, they will take it out on every single person that comes into their life because they don't feel safe. So what it is that this person never is accountable. They're never going to take responsibility. They're never going to apologize. And if anything, they're going to try and make you feel accountable for things that they do, and even for your own emotions and for why the relationship is the way that it is, even though it's because this person doesn't really show up. And they don't show up because if you're not in a relationship by yourself, you have to trust. It has to be equal, give and take, reciprocity. Otherwise, bad feelings erode the relationship. Trust is something that's acquired over time. Balance is that, and this person doesn't want to be that way. And so it's again, they learned that to be my way or the highway. So understand that God says, yeah, they have a big ego, but it doesn't mean anything because I still always win. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, and that's really what it is. So we just see it again, gaslighting and trauma, and with this person, they're just going to feel like a little bit like you're going to feel trapped in a relationship that's one-sided. Like it's like you're powerless. And that's the way this person likes it. But the truth of the matter is you make this person feel powerless because you make them feel. And they don't really know what to do with that. So people that, again, betray, hurt people. You've heard that before. But they see what they look for. And so you're going to see a person that does have feelings, but it's like an oxymoron. Like you have feelings, but then you go and do all that. Well, you're a family member and you do all that. It's the same thing. God says it's like it's to teach It's like whatever the trauma was that affected you will continue to play out because, again, it makes you feel fragmented when really there is no separation between you and your creator. However, you have to change. And the way that you change is by first understanding. I couldn't give you the love that you truly deserve. And this person couldn't because they're fragmented. So if you want to know where they're at, it's like they're reflecting on it. They are like, I believe there's on part of this person that down deep inside, they're like, I still have a connection to you like no other because you can't just get rid of a connection. It doesn't work that way because the person is thinking about you and there's an emotional connection. So ESP is through the heart and mind. It transcends lifetimes. So this is a past life karmic mate that has not learned, that doesn't want to learn. However, is their heart softening a little bit? Yeah, their heart is softening a little bit. Does it make them look at themselves a little bit? Yeah, it makes them look at themselves, but really it goes back to your lesson because spirit says, oh, they're going to get theirs. Trust me. It's like because they do everything that they do is not good. They don't really believe that they can have love. So they would rather stay in a lower vibration and get what they want. It's a surety. Like it's like for sure they're going to get what they want, but it's not fulfilling. It's like, oh, I get to eat that cake. I get to eat that cake. And you ever get like a cake and it looks so good, and then you taste it and it tastes like shit. It tastes like there's like an aftertaste. The frosting tastes bad, or the cake tastes bad. There's something off with it. It's kind of like that. This person will like, yeah, you'll get what you want, but it's not what you want. What you really want is that what is real, what is truthful, because that's of God, and we all have the Holy Spirit inside of us. So this person still is like starting to have a conscience. It's like where, and that's only because they have a connection to you. The sense of we'll be together again is because that deity part of self recognizes you from previous lifetime. You know, again, you've many past life karmic mate. So there is a sense of ownership a little bit, like I said, but this person also knows that they would have to do major changes within their life. I couldn't express all my feelings to you. It's too painful for me to see you right now. You know, so it's again the same energy of like, I refuse to be vulnerable unless you come to me. Unless you come to me, unless you call me, unless you do for me. So again, because this person cannot express their feelings because they're not going to be vulnerable. So this person can never really give you the surety because they're not sure with themselves, and that's really what it is, and that's why this person like gaslit. And what you see is they still are attached to you, but it's not being accountable, kind of a little bit of punishment because of that connection. But what does it bring to you being connected to someone like that? Grief goes back to this energy, and that energy is not good if you're trying to create for your life because it's sadness. It's not abundant energy, right? And it's because this person, as long as they stay connected energetically to you, it's up to you to cut that energy. I feel like this person is courted to you because it's like I said, I have feelings for you. I just don't want to have feelings, you know, unless everything's going to be my way, which it's like, whoever heard of that? This person has gotten what they wanted, but again, from lower hanging fruit. So they'll try to keep making you take a step down, like take a step out of your power. And God says, you better not. That's the karmic test. That's the karmic test. It's like, and it's because this person needs to see themselves a certain way. And God says, that's not who I made them to be. They're overcompensating. It's again, that's the second chakra imbalance. When a person is trying to emulate someone instead of be true to themselves, we get balance by being authentic because we can go with the flow of life because we're true to ourselves. So we're connected. Where this person again, that like I couldn't have pulled the fucking better card. Look at this shit. This is a big ass deck, and this is the card that I pulled. Our inner guidance is clear, but our ego is resisting it, and that's what it is. And God says they can only stay that way for a certain amount of time, because God says I always win, whether they want to or not. It's like, but they're gonna resist. They're going to like try to get you to reach out to them, whether that's staying corded to them or doing whatever. It's like this person is just like I can't, like almost like I can't let you win. And that's not a person that you want to be in a relationship with, because that's someone that will put themselves in competition, someone that shows jealousy and all the other things that show that the person's fragmented. And it doesn't mean that they don't love you, because it shows that they do love you, but they're fragmented. And God says, and you got that person because of the way that you grew up. So, because that you're fragmented because of those situations. So until you integrate the spiritual lesson, it's going to continue to play out as like people that are just like, well, like, what the hell is that energy? Is like, you're going to be like, you're going to cut your nose off to spite your face, just to be an asshole. Like, I mean, that's that energy there. I have feelings that I'm not going to show you. It's like, I can feel you. It's like, I don't care. I'm not going to say anything. It's like, unless you say something, unless you do it first. And it's like, that's no. You can't do anything with that. It said it's all ego. So Spirit says no need to even go and look anymore into this, because they're like stuck in that mindset. But you have to say again, why did you attract this person into your life? We know because of the grief, but what are we alchemizing? Like, and how are we supposed to alchemize it? You got to turn that pain into power. You got to release those negative spiritual blockages held in the mind due to, again, the experiences that you perceive. Your mind is your body's faithful servant. So it's to understand, look at that, self-love, neglect, belittled. Well, anyway, off to a crap start. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we see abandonment, unworthy, crafts and creativity, that's at least a positive, and vulnerability. Okay, so you see why you attracted a person like that. That's like my way or the highway, totally unfair, one-sided. That's when we look at the inner child wounds, that's what it feels like when you grow up with an abusive parent that belittles you and bullies you. It's again, to make you feel, bad about yourself. If they're projecting self-sabotaging behaviorisms. That parent's a really angry parent that needed to be healed. The way that they were treated was most likely the way that they're treating you. So that's ancestral karma. And when a parent talks to their child like that, they are putting vows onto their negative vows. And we don't want negative vows, negative covenants. We don't want any of that, because that binds us to unclean spirits, especially when there's trauma, because trauma creates detachment and disassociation. So what do you think happens? Like if you're empty and you're not connected to anything, meaning there's no God, there's no anything, there's just you. There's no spirit inside of you. If you're empty, you attract negative spirits. Negative spirits come out as attachments. So when you fill yourself up with the Holy Spirit, you are able to actually heal yourself of that fragmentation. However, what you see here is like abandonment. Obviously, if a parent is not nurturing to the point that you don't know how to love yourself because self-love came up. Children don't not like themselves unless they're taught that. And if you're growing up with someone that's a bully, someone that makes you feel unworthy, someone that neglects you, that's abuse. It's psychological and emotional abuse because that parent is angry. So of course the child's not going to feel safe. They're not going to feel safe to be vulnerable. They're not going to have an open heart. Already they're born into that covenant and they have a closed heart because they don't feel safe. Again, the first bully is a parent. Well, they're conditioning their child that the world's not safe, that they're not worthy, that they're not good enough, that they don't have enough. They're conditioning that child. And that's why it's abuse. But here it is, belittled. And we know that that's, to me, is that. It's a form of bullying. And so when child feels so unworthy that they can either stay detached in la la land, or they can actually pour themselves into a hobby or an interest. And I feel like you used to put your time and energy into like doing things, that there's a sense of creativity. Now, does that mean that you're a good painter or drawer? No. But can you like escape within your mind? Do you have ideas? More ideas than most people? Yes, you do. And I say that that's a gift. You also may have like you might also see that you have manifested some things due to your creativity. The reason why is because that detachment and where you lose yourself, it's like a meditative realm. Well, when there's such severe trauma and a child detaches and they become numb, it kind of mimics that same energy. If you notice that. And so that creativity is also mediumship abilities. Why? Because mediumship is in that realm of kind of dreamland of where you can actually like sense energies. Now, does that mean that you've developed it? No, it might be a gift that you just never developed enough. And so Spirit says, nevertheless, it's a gift. It's because your creative side is your right side. It's your intuitive side. And so Spirit's saying, so the trauma was that you grew up in that environment, a person that made you feel that way about you. So it was a sense of not knowing your own worth per se, which is why Spirit brought a person that acted like they didn't know your worth, when meanwhile they know your worth. They want to be with you. They just don't want to say that they want to be with you. They don't want to do like anything because of that they're in their ego. But a person can't stay like that because that's not who God made us to be. We're the energy of unconditional love, but the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Also, the more that Spirit has to put them kind of in a real uncomfortable decision. So this person doesn't know that they're coming back. I'm telling you, I feel that eventually they will come back because love is that universal panacea. What makes people do what they don't want to do. It's like that's what it is. Now, that doesn't mean that they'll come back tomorrow. They might come back in a year from now and you're not interested. But sometimes that's what it is. We can say, well, what is the person going to do? There's this sense of, again, like they're very strong-willed. There's still this attraction, but it's almost like this person, like you're going to see that paradoxical energy of like, I have feelings for you, like mutual feelings for you, but I also want to be free. And they're very strong-willed. So the relationship, you would emotionally never get what you wanted. So it's, again, do I feel this person like eventually doing something? I feel like, again, there's hidden secrets, like, again, that they do have those feelings, but at this very moment, no. Do I feel like eventually? Yes, I do. Does this person know when? No. Why? Because, again, they're kind of like detaching, suspended, leaving it like leaving themselves corded to you, but not doing anything. So you're the one that has to cut the cord. If you want to, get that energy, and you cut the cord by you not feeding it anymore. And that's done by alchemizing the spiritual energy. That's the only thing that you can do, because a person would stay corded to you forever and just kind of wear you down like that. And eventually, because this is who this person is. And that's where they are right now. They'd wear you down. And then eventually, by the time it's too late, they'd come back and realize you're the one that got away. Spirit says it's up to you to go into uncharted waters now. Evoke your curiosity about yourself. Move with confidence, because you're not your trauma. And if you grew up in survival mode with a person that bullied you and belittled you and made you question yourself, well, guess what? That wasn't your regular energy. And you couldn't be in a place of your creative mind, even though you're a creative person. You were more in your survival mind. So you actually have gifts that you really even haven't tapped into. And again, your psychic mind, which is the creative mind, gets grounded, and you utilize it when you, again, go out into the world and explore and are led by gut, intuition, inner knowing. Like in the moment, Spirit's saying, that's how you get confidence within yourself too. It's like because you don't want to attract people that, are more in alignment with old energy. You're not that person anymore. There's other things that have transpired, and it doesn't mean that you didn't travel. And then Spirit says, travel more. Find yourself. Have a love affair with yourself is what is being called for. Because again, it will be transformational. Release control, meaning you're not in charge of how things unfold. You're only in charge of putting the energy towards what you love the best way that you know how, and being consistent and growing your faith in the fact of believing in yourself, and believing in the universe, and believing that there's something more grander than you that gives you that spiritual sovereignty to be able to create your own heaven on earth. Again, and if you're around people that make you feel like shit most of your life, you don't know what that feels like. And Spirit says, that's why you go into uncharted waters, because you know what? You're going to be surprised. People are going to say, I really like you. Wow, I really think that you're an intelligent person. I really think, and you're going to be like, I don't know, I didn't do anything today any different than any other day, but people are liking me. And Spirit says, sometimes people know your worth, but they don't want you to know your worth. So they're going to gaslight you to make you perceive that you're less than. So again, sometimes it's because I just perceive that I'm better than you. Why? Because I'm better looking. Why? Because I have more money. Why? Because I live in a house and you live in an apartment. Why? Because you have red hair and I have blue hair. I mean, it's like the reasons, who knows? And it doesn't matter, but it's trauma. And so when you let other people's shit affect you, is what Spirit says. So again, and make sure that you're not looking for validation from other people, but you meet your tribe. And you meet your tribe, but when you find yourself fully, again, because you actually have limitless potential. But if you've been surrounded by people that have said, well, you're only entitled to this, and maybe that started with your ancestors. Or you're not really from this country. You really shouldn't, or really you should, whatever the limitation is. People get caught up in the limitations, which means that they don't see the things that are right in front of them that they could utilize to create themselves. Spirit says everyone is born with everything that they need to create their limitless potential, to transform, right? It's just channeling the energy. But when you grow up where you're gaslit and you feel like you're not safe, there's a sense of wanting to control. The Spirit says, can't control, because then you're not going to be in your creative energy. We go with the flow of life through doing our passion for life. It unfolds while you're on it. The path unfolds while you're on it. You say, well, why is that? And because God says, well, only I can change your mind and your heart about how you perceive yourself, situations and experiences. And I'm going to put you in situations that make you perceive life differently, perceive yourself differently. Otherwise, you'll stay stuck in reliving the same karmic cycles that your parents did, or worse, get caught up in whatever is going on collectively, right? Because again, we're born into collective karma where they teach you whatever's going on in the world, right? So if there's a depression, COVID, like whatever it is that was happening during the time that you were being born, grown up, and it's that trauma that needs to be integrated. And so we can't handle it the same way that we once handled it. We have to do something different because that allows us to see ourselves differently. But what helps us too is when the environment is also helping us, not being around people that have a problem clapping or want you to stay small or settle for less because it helps them to be more comfortable. Was about you knowing your worth and loving yourself. The Spirit says you weren't taught that. You were belittled, you were bullied. So again, loving yourself, you have to do it now. You have to reparent yourself now. Then you're going to see limitless potential, and you transform those energies because your whole mindset is different, because no one is in your environment telling you otherwise. And so Spirit saying, and it's all to learn about, not just not just seeing that you're always supported, learning that, but learning who you are, but really kind of learning how to forgive, because that's where we tend to get stuck. And Spirit says, when you transform and you see a completely different version of yourself and you see why things happen, it's easy to forgive. Otherwise, people tend to stay blocked because they're like, my life isn't working and it's because of you. Because of you. I think of that song, Kelly Clarkson, right? Because I'm not going to sing it, that because of you, she's screaming it at the end, because of you, it's like where you get mad because you're like, you damaged me. You did something to me. Ever since this time, it's been like this. Ever since that time, it's been like that. And it's the trauma. And it's the trauma that needs to be integrated. But a lot of times the trauma was there before. So we again needed to heal it. So the universe brought us someone to help awaken that trauma. So that's why it hurts so bad. And you're like, no, this is all I know. And that's what the Spirit says. We can't get stuck in being angry. We have to, again, transform that pain. That rage is really just fear that's been sitting around for so long, stagnant grief for a long time that really will come out as anxiety. And I don't know if you ever met someone that had severe anxiety. They're terrifying. It's like, you're like, they look like they're going to kill you. You know what I mean? They don't look like they're scared. They're scary. And Spirit says that's what happens over time. The rage and the resentment and the anger, but it's really fear. And it's a mindset. And so Spirit says this was about you, again, seeing how your strength, and that know that you're stronger than fear and bigger than doubt, and that you are light and you remain light and you trust in God and you stand tall before the tests of life. This was obviously a test. And you grow and you become wiser through every challenge, and that you're a being of new life because you get to see a different version of yourself. That's what transformation is. It's like, wow, a phoenix from the ashes. It's like, again, different life. And it's because you're not the same person. A lot of times, horrible relationships, like this is a horrible relationship because this person was a jerk. It's like my way or the highway. Like, I have feelings for you, but I'm not going to change. Like, because of your pain? What about my pain? What about what I went through? I don't care about your pain. That's this person, and I don't think I have to. So that's a person that's high on their horse. And that's kind of like that bullying energy, right? Belittling energy, right? With someone that wants to like look down onto you, make you feel like you're not worthy of life. And God says, yeah, so you better know how to love yourself. Self love needed, again, to really fully transform that pain, to see a different version. Then people will know what's up, because then they're like, oh, I can't take advantage. And when they can't take advantage, people are nicer to people that aren't so nice, that are more nice to themselves. And it's because you teach a person how you want to be treated by how you're treating yourself. And if you grew up where you were bullied, and that's, you weren't strong within yourself, is what spirit says. And that's why the protocol for healing is go out into the world, get strong within yourself, really know what you like, what you don't like, see that other people like you and that you are a good person, and that, people want to gaslight. That's their issue. That's because you brought out their ugly by being true. Your light did that. But don't change you. Again, change what you're doing, but don't change you. Don't change your heart. Change, the fact that you might be sitting on your ass watching TV too much, or waiting for somebody to come into your life and change your life. Those things need to be changed, but don't change on accordance to somebody else. All right, I'm going to leave that there. Be true to yourself, love yourself. Until next time, bye bye.